Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. An all-white Texas jury finds Karmelo Anthony guilty of first-degree murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. He is now awaiting sentencing. We'll give you the latest in this case. Tennessee Democrats have dropped their federal lawsuit challenging the state's new congressional map. What gives? A black Georgia DA is suing the state over House Bill 369, which forces key local races to be nonpartisan. The DeKalb County District Attorney will join us to explain why she says the law selectively targets Democratic-leaning metro Atlanta counties and violates the Georgia Constitution. Things got heat on Capitol hearing during the House Judiciary Committee hearing about the claims that the Southern Poverty Law Center elevates the domestic extremist threat and misleads its donors by aligning with the KKK. Y'all don't want to miss this. And a Virginia pastor calls out black folks who do not vote. He makes it real plain as to where they stand. Plus, we'll talk to a South Carolina state representative about how Republicans are pushing to block funding for South Carolina State University after the school rescinded its invitation for the MAGA Lieutenant Governor to deliver this year's commencement address. And in tonight's ShopBlackStarNetwork.com segment, we'll show you stationery that creatively meets discipline, personal expression, where planning becomes an act of care rather than obligation. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Guilty. That is a decision of an all-white jury in a Dallas suburb in the case of Karmelo Anthony, who was convicted of murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf that took place at a track meet last year in Collin County. It took the jury less than 3 hours to find him guilty. Right now, they are now determining a sentencing phase. Karmelo Anthony's mother pleaded with the jurors to not sentence her son to a long prison sentence, but prosecutors say that's exactly what they want. Karmelo Anthony is 17 years old, was a student with a 3.7 grade point average when an fight escalated at a track meet in Collin County. Austin Metcalf and others approached under this tent and said that he didn't belong there and ordered him to leave. Karmelo said, look, don't touch me, and he reaches into his bag. He had a knife in his bag. And then when he was approached and was pushed by Austin Metcalf, that's when Karmelo Anthony pulled a knife out, stabbed him in the chest, and he fled. This case, of course, has gotten lots of attention. Austin Metcalf, white. Karmelo Anthony, black. This, of course, was a very contentious trial. Karmelo Anthony did not testify in the trial. That was a decision of the jury. And now, of course, it goes into the hands of the jurors to determine his fate. It is certainly a shocking turn of events. A legal analyst, Thelma Anderson, was in the courtroom, and she went back into the courtroom before they sent the jury out to consider his fate. And so we will have her live right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered once she is able to get out of court. The judge prohibited phones, computers, anything along those lines in the courtroom, even in the courthouse. And so we'll be waiting to hear back from her to get a sense of what is taking place. It is certainly a stunning story. Karmelo Anthony, a very bright young man, again, with a bright future. And now, as a result of this decision, he is looking at 5 to 99 years of life in prison. I want to bring in my panel right now, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA, joining us from D.C. Zabora G, DEIA consultant and employment specialist, also from D.C. Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies, also from D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. Testimony of one of the individuals, Mustafa, said that one of the coaches said to Karmelo that after this took place, he said, your life will change forever. That is certainly the case. This, of course, took place a year ago. And here's this young man, 17 years old, tried as an adult, now found guilty of murder. And again, now the fate is in the juror's hand, in the judge's hands. Like we said, it could be as little as 5 years. It could be as many as 99 years. Prosecutors, they want a long sentence. I would not be shocked if they want a sentence of anywhere from 30 to 50 years for Karmelo Anthony. And certainly a sad story. Young man is dead, and this young black man, life may be over before it even gets started.
Yeah, I mean, both families are tragically impacted, and we need to make sure that we call that out. You know, we look at the statistics, right? We know that, unfortunately, half the men who are in prison right now or are incarcerated, whether in federal or state, dealing with life sentences are our brothers, you know, African-American men. And we also know that, I think it was the Prison Policy Institute once talked about that for black men who are under 25, they're often given longer sentences than any other groups that are out there. So he's facing an uphill battle in the sense of the history of this country and how sentencing is often more severe in relationship to our community. And also, you know, even if it's 20 years or 30 years once you get out, you still got to carry the stigma that's attached to being convicted of murder. So the thing that I'm continuing to do is to pray, right? Pray for both sides of the family, but also to understand the reality, unfortunately, of how we are seen and how we are often given these longer sentences. The last thing that I'll say, Roland, is that we also got to make sure that for our young men who are out there, often facing all kinds of difficult situations, often dealing with folks who maybe have bigotry or discrimination, we've got to also make sure that they understand the choices, those split-second choices, the impacts that they can have. We've got to learn to be able to de-escalate in these types of situations so that you can live another day, but not just live another day, but live another day free, so that you can be able to achieve all the things that are in front of you.
The prosecutors say, Zabora, that it was Karmelo who provoked the incident, even though it was Metcalf who shoved Karmelo. And the DA said that a shove should not be met with being stabbed in the chest. The defense said, hey, he was defending himself when he was surrounded by Austin Metcalf, his brother, and several others. And they argued that this was absolutely self-defense.
Well, you know, I think that we have to look at the history of how Black men are charged in the court of law and how they're not seen like their white counterparts would be, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this individual pushed him and provokes him. So Karmelo should have been able to defend himself, but they don't look at our Black children like they want us to look at their white children. And we know that Black Americans are arrested at higher rates. We know that our defendants receive longer sentences, and we know that we are not given benefit of the doubt. So this could have easily been manslaughter versus murder, but the state is going to overcharge. The jury is not a jury of his peers. Everybody in that jury were white, so you don't get the fair shot of this person actually being innocent until proven guilty. I don't know that there was enough evidence to show that it wasn't self-defense. And I don't think that Karmelo had a fair shot at a trial on this when we know what history has shown us. History has shown us that Black males are not treated in the same way that their white counterparts, white teens, would be treated in this instance. If this was 2 Black boys and 1 white boy, I think the conversation would be a whole lot different. And so I think we just need to really understand that how race is playing in this situation and how the media has portrayed Karmelo as some thug or some reprobate that isn't, was up to no good, when in reality, this was his school. These kids didn't go there. It was a lot of different situations that could have prevented this. And I just feel that, we need to really understand how the system is just having a miscarriage of justice for our young Black men.
Joy, as Mustafa said, a split-second decision now is going to have lifelong consequences. The father, Austin Metcalf, forgave Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony's parents obviously aggrieved. According to witnesses, Karmelo, once the jury verdict came down, was crying uncontrollably and was shaking at the defense table, as that's what one would expect when a 17-year-old bound for college hears that he is guilty of murder.
Right. I mean, this was a fight between 2 boys. And I think for anyone out there listening, look at your sons. My stepson just graduated from college, young, life full and ahead of him. I cannot imagine either for Austin's parents or Karmelo's parents. These are, a fight between boys with long-range consequences. What I think is dissatisfying for all of us is that, as we know, Karmelo deserves some punishment for what happened here. Austin has paid the ultimate price for his role. We know that race is playing a role here in the charging, the decision to go murder. And we pray that there will be some mercy given as we're looking at the range here. Surely the facts of this case trend towards the lower end. This is not someone who is likely to reoffend. This is someone who can be rehabilitated. This is a life that can be saved. And so I hope if Austin's parents truly have forgiven Karmelo and truly understand that this was a fight that got out of hand with immature young men, that he will also speak and say, we don't want this to be a double tragedy, to be amplified and complicated by a long sentence that will be problematic for everyone. This will be constantly something. Why not have this be a story of redemption and second chances? I really pray for that. This case screams for that. Everything about it seems to scream for that, and that it would just be a loss to both families if this is some long, unnecessary sentence here. This young man can be rehabilitated. He can serve his time, and he can come out and be able to live a full life, perhaps being able to share his lesson with other young men. Calm down. Don't, necessarily have weapons on you that are deadly, because a split second can end someone else's life and effectively yours.
Thelma Anderson, legal analyst, joins us right now. Thelma, give us a sense of what the courtroom was like and also what is happening outside that courtroom.
First and foremost, the one thing that I would ask for people to do at this moment is pray for the Anthony family, because they have been legally lynched for the last year, and more so by this slaughterhouse of a courthouse, as well as the family of the Metcalfs. So the energy right now is very white supremacy. They have shown up to be the pigs that they display with hate. They are celebrating the loss of life and the loss of freedom. So that's the energy. We have a devastated family who didn't know that they was going to have to let their son go back into a holdover, because we have an overzealous prosecutor who lied throughout this trial, who put on liars as witnesses in order to be a saving grace for the white community so that they can win an election. That's what it feels like right now.
The what's happening right now is the jury right now debating his sentencing.
Yes, the jury is debating his sentencing right now. We came out of sentencing, the opening and the closing of both the defense and the state, and now the jury is going to make a decision about what time they are going to give him.
Well, we
So
already
that's what we're waiting.
seen what the prosecutor has made. We already seen the prosecutor made clear that he wants it to be a long sentencing.
What I heard from this man today is indicative of why it's important that it's people that look like us that are in courtrooms like that. This man disregarded human life the entire trial. He invoked race. He equated Dallas County as being the ghetto, opposed to Frisco being safe. They propagandaed a photo of the deceased with black people around praying, saying this is community. They used us as a prop in order to pitch their lynching. This man has been known to be an overzealous prosecutor when it comes to us. He see us as what was the statement that free labor. That's what he see us as. So I'm not surprised that this prosecutor, who has unethical background, would get up there and ask for the max when he know that this was self-defense.
Well, folks, as we said at the top, Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty in a Collin County courtroom. He faces anywhere from 5 to 99 years in prison. The jury right now is deliberating what his sentencing is. Thelma, explain to folks how Texas works. If the jury settles on a sentence, does the judge have to accept that sentence? Can the judge offer his own sentence?
So in the state of Texas, when a defendant decides if it gets the punishment, they get to pick if they want to go before a judge or they want to go before a jury. There was no way in the God's hell that this individual was going to, his attorneys was going to allow him to go to this judge based off of his behavior. So he went to the jury. The jury now determines, and they have the final say. A judge cannot come and undo if he thinks that it's too light. If he do, that's another constitutional violation and appealable if he decides to overthrow what a jury has decided, even though he's giving them permission to do their job. So whenever in a criminal justice, whenever in a trial, they get to pick who sentenced them if it gets to that point. And Karmelo Anthony selected the jury. And let's hope that this judge, who has been doing any and everything behind closed doors that we don't see, don't invade the province of the jury and allow them to do their job.
All right, Thelma Anderson, we really appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. We'll wait to hear what this jury decides. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Net. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Folks, I'm here in Atlanta where a black Georgia DA has filed a state lawsuit against a new Georgia state law that turns some local elections, well, the elections in Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett counties, I wonder why, into nonpartisan races. Last week, DeKalb District Attorney Sherry Boston held a news conference across from the state capitol and was joined by Cobb County DA Shanae Allen, Clayton County DA Tasha Mosley, and Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis. What do they all have in common? To detail her lawsuit against House Bill 369, Boston joins us right now. I'm glad to have you here. Let's just be real clear here. Republicans are upset, Sherry. They keep losing in these counties. And this is very similar to what took place in Texas when Republicans got tired of losing in Harris County. And so what do? They outlawed straight ballot voting all across Texas. And because they were tired of losing there, they still are losing there. But in this case here, so that they didn't say, well, let's just make all races in the state nonpartisan. They didn't say, let's just make all DA races nonpartisan. They chose specific counties, correct?
Yes, they singled out 5 counties led by 5 Democratic Black women to change our election from partisan to nonpartisan, and left the other 46 district attorneys in the state as partisan.
What was the? I mean, we did the story when this happened. What was the rationale given to single out these 5 counties. And not only that, is it only the DA races? What about the sheriffs? What about the other county-wide positions that are on the ballot?
Well, the explanation, Roland, made zero sense. But what they said was they wanted to take politics out of public safety. But my response was, well, that should mean the entire state and not just these 5 counties. Last I checked, public safety was important to the entire state of Georgia, to all 159 counties, and not just these 5. And so it's really ridiculous what we've seen, but it does affect more than just the district attorneys. Originally, they just wanted to do the district attorneys, but then they added in solicitor generals, which are misdemeanor elected prosecutors in the state of Georgia, tax commissioner, and superior court clerks. Ironically, the biggest public safety enforcer in those counties, the sheriffs, were left alone. They did not touch those races.
Well, that's my whole point. How can you say you want law enforcement to be nonpartisan, but you don't change the sheriff's position? Okay, how about this here? There are judicial races where you actually have judges. Are those races nonpartisan, or are they still partisan?
Well, our judicial races are across the state of Georgia nonpartisan, and there's no delineation between which county or judicial circuit. All judges are treated the same, as they should be, which is one of the backbones of our lawsuit, that this violates the Equal Protection Clause under both the Georgia and the U.S. Constitution, because you can't create a law that treats a DA in these 5 circuits, and let's just be clear, these are all represented by Black women, all Democratic, and all have large Black voting constituencies. So you have to ask yourself, and I'm sure your viewers are asking yourself, what is the real reason that they made these changes? And we know it's because they wanted to be more competitive and change the game in these spaces where Black voters, for the most part, are electing Black women to lead them. And they've seen this change across the Atlanta. I was elected in 2016. And so when I took office in January of 2017, I was the only Black female DA in the state of Georgia. And now you can see, as I stand here in 2026, surrounded by my other beautiful Metro DA sisters, that the landscape in Georgia has changed. And this is their way. If they can't win the race, they want to change the rules of the game.
Well, absolutely. Okay, so what is what is the legal argument that you are making that you hope that this is accepted? And also, is your lawsuit a state lawsuit or a federal lawsuit?
So our lawsuit's been filed in the state, so it's pending in Fulton County Superior Court. And there are 3 grounds to the lawsuit. First is violation of Georgia's uniformity clause, meaning the legislature was not allowed to pass any laws that created any differences between one county or the other. And our Georgia Supreme Court has routinely held that any laws created by the legislature that do that is unconstitutional. The second is violation of equal protection under the U.S. and the Georgia Constitution. So in addition to the fact that Georgia has this clause that says there needs to be uniformity, we're also saying that this law that makes a distinction between the DAs in these 5 counties and all the others is a violation of equal protection because they haven't articulated a reason that that should happen. And by the way, the law says it's because we have medical examiners in our counties instead of elected coroners like in the other counties. So that reason is not connected to the rationale to make it partisan versus nonpartisan. And then our third reason is that when the legislature passed this law, they violated Georgia's rejected bills clause. In this case, this bill came up for a vote in the Senate and it failed. They didn't have enough votes to pass it. So what they did after it failed was they went and got another bill that had passed on food trucks, stripped that bill, added this language in, and then put it back for a vote without any type of committee hearings. And the Georgia Rejected Bills Clause says when you put a bill up and it fails in a particular chamber, it has to pass in that chamber again, not by a majority, but by 2/3. And in this case, not only did they not put it back up for that critical vote, when it finally passed, it also didn't have the 2/3 vote. So we think we have really good legal arguments, 3 strong constitutional reasons that our Georgia Supreme Court and hopefully the Fulton County Superior Court judge that hears this first will determine that what the legislature has done is unconstitutional.
Questions for my panel. Joy, you first.
I mean, this case, we're not confused about what they're doing here, and I know you aren't either, but it does seem that they are just facially challenged here, right? That this is going to be an easy one. So you got to wonder, like, what is this about? Is this about, punishing you all or making a spectacle or like, because it doesn't feel like, it seems like they would know that this is going to be easily challenged in court and that you all have the full ability, authority with the law behind you to do so. So, is there something else you think is going on here that may not be readily apparent? Is it just racism, or is it that they're also trying to sort of inspire some kind of white supremacist movement there? I'm just not sure what's going on.
I mean, these are all counties that have Democratic strongholds, and they know that they can't change the fate of our elections, that we are going to continue to be elected by our communities. I'm in my 3rd term, right? And I have the full support of my community. And all of these women have been elected with the full support of their communities. And so I think this is absolutely a way for them to change the game, not only by making it nonpartisan, but let me be clear, when they change it to nonpartisan, it changes how we can fundraise. It changes when people vote for us. And so I think they're also trying to make it more difficult for people like us to get elected and easier for perhaps candidates of another persuasion to be elected, and for voters to have less information. Because when they go into the ballots, they no longer get to see which candidate is upholding the values or the party values that they align themselves with.
Zabora.
Thank you so much for your service and for bringing this lawsuit to the courts. My question is, what kind of long-term legal or legislative safeguards can we do to prevent these kind of selective election laws from happening and used as political tools in the future?
Well, I'm hoping that this lawsuit can be a deterrent. At the end of the day, our legislature gets together every year, and we're always going to have people that are trying to change the game. We have to continue to vote on every election, because guess what? Every member of the legislature and the governor who signed on to this bill are all elected by the people. So we need to send a strong message that we're not going to elect people that are going to pass unconstitutional, racist, bigoted laws, that we're not going to support people that are going to take away our right to vote and try to take away information that we need to vote. And filing this lawsuit for me is promises made, promises kept. I testified at the legislature about this bill, and I promised that if it were passed and if it were signed by the governor, that I would file a lawsuit. And everybody that knows me knows that I don't make empty threats. And so when I said I was going to do what I was going to do, I did it. And I'm hoping that the legislature and this governor, if they are still around when this is all said and done, that they will know in the future that we're going to fight, and we're going to fight tooth and nail, and we're not going to roll over and just accept these racist, unconstitutional, facially incorrect laws that they want to put forth in the legislature.
Mustafa.
Well, yes, again, thank you for your service and everything that you're doing. It's really interesting that Governor Kemp would actually sign off on this. I believe, I haven't lived in Georgia in a little while, but I think there are about close to 4 million folks who are in the counties that we were talking about. I think that's 1 in 3 of various folks who live in the state of Georgia. So, and there is talk, of course, that he has other ideas about running for office and, down the road. So this doesn't make it seems kind of silly to actually move on this and to sign this if you have other aspirations down the road, because you're going to lose in court, or more than likely you're going to lose in court.
Well, the day after this law was signed by Governor Kemp, he also signed the executive order for the special session to go back in and redistrict our lines for our congressional seats and for our legislative seats. So I don't know what Governor Kemp's aspirations are. We know he's term limited here in Georgia, and he has been on a list of people that might consider future office. And so I do hope that the 4 million voters that live in these 5 counties will remember that Governor Kemp could have vetoed this bill. He could have let it become law without putting his stamp on it. But what he did in signing his name to this legislation was he co-signed it. And he signaled, I think, to the rest of the legislature and elected officials and Republicans that he supported this. And I'll be frank, I was very disappointed with his decision. And I know that there were many groups, many advocacy groups that wrote to him and encouraged him to veto this bill, not just because it was legally wrong and legally unconstitutional, but on the face of it, the optics of it, it's just not the right thing to do. But I think the governor's playing to his base. And this is what the Republican Party here in the state of Georgia wanted to see.
All right, then. Well, look, we will be following this. Keep us abreast of what happens with this lawsuit. DA Sherry Boston, thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, folks, lots more to talk about, including Republicans still whining about elections in California being rigged. But you notice they don't say that when Republicans who won in California won. It shows you who they are. Also, explosive testimony on Capitol Hill. Southern Poverty Law Center being frankly persecuted by House Republicans after the Department of Justice indicted them, saying that they were aligning with the KKK. You want to see a level of stupid? We got lots to show you. So we got all of that next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do the work that we do. You're going to contribute via Cash App. Please do so by using the Square. Using Stripe. The QR code button is right here. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland and Roland Martin Unfiltered.com. And let me shout out some folks. We got, let's see here. Give me 1 second. We had folks who were donating during the show and popped up. Ruby Kenny, thanks for your generous donation. I see it. It popped up while I was live, and so thank you so very much. Everybody who gives during the show, you're going to get a shout out from me. So please do so. Again, put it up. If you want to give me a Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You'll see it right here. And PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest, In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
In Tennessee, a federal judge granted Democrats' request to dismiss their lawsuit against Tennessee's new congressional map voluntarily. This decision comes after Judge William Campbell denied Democrats' motion for a temporary restraining order in May. The Tennessee Democratic Party, along with Congressman Steve Cohen, State Representative Justin Pearson, and Memphis community leaders, filed a lawsuit against the state's new congressional voter districts on May 8th. The lawsuit named Governor Bill Lee, Secretary of State Trey Hargett, and Tennessee Coordinator of Elections Mark Goins as defendants. The plaintiffs had argued that the new congressional map infringes on voters' rights and undermines the benefits of political associations they have formed. Pearson released this statement. While we believe our Tennessee Democratic Party federal redistricting challenge was just, all plaintiffs were aligned and advised by attorneys that dismissing our case to restore District 9 to the previous map was the best course of action given the U.S. Supreme Court's stance on Louisiana versus Calais. Pearson said we are open to exploring recourse in the future if the legal landscape changes. House Speaker Mike Johnson, the twice impeached, criminally convicted fellow-in-chief Donald Trump's puppet, is pushing the ridiculously false narrative of fraud in the Los Angeles mayoral race. Oh, they're so upset because Spencer Pratt, this Republican reality dude, no experience whatsoever, is now coming third in the mayoral race. Now, keep in mind, a Republican came in first in the gubernatorial primary. So just to be clear, Steve Hilton, his race wasn't rigged, but Pratt's race was rigged. CNN's Manu Raj got him to admit that there's no evidence of voter fraud.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Let's remove the appearance of impropriety. Let's have what a concept. Let's have votes on an election the day of the election. That's what many states are able to do. I think California is playing around with this.
But what evidence is there to prove that there was rigged?
Look, some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream it is impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here. And that's a concern. We need people to believe in the integrity of our election system.
Okay, all right. So just so we're not confused here. Zabor, Republicans have won in California. Republicans have won county sheriff's race. These same people, they've won, and it took this long for them to count ballots. So now all of a sudden, this one guy loses, but the other Republicans win, but the whole election is rigged. It's sort of like when Donald Trump said, my election was rigged, but all the other Republicans who won didn't say that. Zabor?
We can look at this and we know that when it comes down to Democrat-leaning counties or states, and when they're winning, they're quiet. But the moment that it is favorable to Democrats, they are saying that, these elections are unjust and we must do this and it's diabolical and all of these things. But the reality is when the favor is on your side, you're quiet as a mouse. You have nothing to say. And we know that you are only attacking these Democratic leaning spaces. So the question is never about whether or not these things are actually true, because we know that's not the case. We know that your fight only gets louder and much more aggressive when it's a Democrat-leaning county or state. When it comes to you making the rules up you want to make in Texas and other places like Louisiana, it's fine. But in those places where you see that there is a little bit of a Democratic stronghold and we are actually having some winning in that area, you have so much to say. We know that it's not you really fighting for politics. You're just fighting to get your way and to be very loud about something that is not an injustice for real.
I just sit here and laugh. It's like, oh yeah, well, we can't find any evidence, Mustafa, but just common sense says, does it pass the smell test? What the hell are you talking about, dude? I mean, everybody understands there's a process that they follow. When you drop ballots off, when the ballots come in, how they check, how they want to be as thorough as possible. I mean, this is just a joke. These are nothing but Republican whiners who are upset when they lose.
They're upset when they lose, but they also plant seeds. So we should be very clear. This whole misinformation, disinformation campaigns that they have, they're not just doing it. So one, yes, their policies are garbage. And yes, the vast majority of Americans don't want to vote for, the vision that they have for the country. But they also are very strategic and slick with it. So let's not miss that part. Because when they say that, these processes that folks have been following for decades there in California, that there must be something wrong even though we can't prove it, then they overlay that in other parts of the country. You've heard the president continue to say that there has to have been something that happened in 2020, the reason that he lost. You lost because people didn't want you anymore. That's why you lost. But yet they'll continue to try and make it sound like there was some funny business. The only funny business is that you don't want people to actually be able to vote for the candidates that they feel best represent them. And when you look at this, same set of talking points in other parts of the country, then they give justification for the Department of Justice to be able to come in and take a look, or to have folks who are monitoring, and all these other different types of things they use to try to suppress the vote. Because if they plant these seeds in people's minds, some people might say, well, you know what? I really don't want to be a part of any of this foolishness, so I'm not going to vote. So when they do these types of things, I begin to pull back the veneer, to unpack it and ask the question, why are you really doing it? Yeah, as I said before, your stuff is whack, but there's a deeper part because they understand what's going to happen in 2026. And they also understand in 2028, they need to be able to justify some of the actions that they might consider taking after people have cast their votes.
Joy?
Right, so I'm going to double down on that. But as usual, they tell the truth, not on us, but on themselves. Diabolical is right. This is not about the mayor's race in LA or whatever. This is about taking any race where you see maybe someone who looks differently than they think, in this case, a Black woman. Try to make it, try to say that there was something inappropriate that happened or that she couldn't have possibly won. And then what you do then is then you use that as a reason to promote the SAVE Act, which you can't get passed even though you control the House and Senate. You can't seem to get it across the finish line into the president's desk because no one likes it, because they know it's ridiculous to try to limit voting in this country and that it ultimately will also have an impact on Republicans. But you need examples. So you make these things up. You plant these lies, these seeds. It gives you a false reason that you can, some plausible reason in your mind and in the minds of your voters who you do not respect and that you think are stupid because you fooled them in the past with these lies. And you use it. It's a thread that you use to use the Department of Justice, as Mustafa said, or to just simply undercut elections you don't agree with the outcome of, or to pass, like I said, laws that would ultimately limit the access to the ballot box. That's what this is about. Forget what he said. He's coming up with anything. If there is a place in hell for liars, Mike Johnson is surely a candidate for it, and which is too bad because he previous to this was a good man, but he has allowed Donald Trump to take him down, and he is fooling his voters. He does not respect you. He thinks he can trick you into doing something that you don't want to do and that will ultimately hurt you. It is Republicans also who vote absentee on early voting, et cetera. They don't all vote on election day. So this is about how to make elections accessible to all of us. And yet he's willing to sacrifice his own voters because he believes it'll disenfranchise more Black and brown voters. This is diabolical. This is a long-term game. So it's not about what he said about the mayor's race in LA. That race is a secure race. It's done. Nothing was wrong with it. He doesn't even have any evidence about it. It's about him setting up the grift for the next thing he needs to do.
Well, bottom line is, you said it. I'm not going to say he was a good man before all of this because he wasn't. So, but you can have that one. But I ain't going that far. He's trash. All right, 2 stories out of Florida that shows you how insane AI is. There's a MAGA candidate running for school board, DeKalb County School Board, and so he literally tried to get Black folks to believe that he had lots of Black supporters by using an AI-generated image. Local TV station Action News Jax questioned Clarence James about a series of photos promoting a campaign fish fry at a local church. James deleted an AI-generated image from his Facebook page after being questioned. A Florida law in 2024, passed in 2024, made it illegal for candidates to use AI-generated deepfakes and attack advertisements without clearly disclosing that the content was artificially created. Okay, that's insane. But this is the one that is even more insane. And if you want to talk about just what's diabolical, check this out. A man named Jalil Richardson was jailed in Florida because the police in Florida used AI to identify a vehicle theft suspect. Okay, they looked at a surveillance video and identified the suspect. Jalil spent 3 months in jail, lost his job, his home, and custody of his kids, except one problem. Jalil's never visited Florida. He lives in North Carolina. His own timesheet shows he was at work when the crime was committed, but they did not check to see. That right there is, I believe, beyond heinous, Mustafa, where this man, AI identifies him, he wasn't even in the state. And he's lost a whole lot. And I don't give a damn if he was locked up for 1 hour, not 8 hours, not a day. This man was locked up for 3 months because AI was wrong.
We have to be really careful with AI, right? AI can be a tool, right? But some people are making AI a deity because they believe everything that it says. They believe that it is infallible, that it doesn't make mistakes. Now, when you take a look at facial recognition programs, I mean, AI has been playing a big role in the background of that. And when you look at some of the data sets, there are biases that are built into some of the data sets. So if you're going to continue to move forward on AI, and there are some probably positive applications, of course, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to, one, extract the negative that's built in because the biases that exist inside of our society, and AI trains based upon the information that it's given. So if you have those biases that are there, then they're incorporated into it. Second thing is that you don't have to just double check. You have to triple check or maybe even add additional checkings, especially when you're playing with people's lives. And there are a number of different applications, of course, we could talk about in relationship to AI. That could have huge impacts on people's lives. So folks often don't want to do the work, right? Before we move forward on, some of these new tools. I'm not against 21st century tools. I am against us not doing our due diligence to make sure that many of the biases from the past are not brought forward into this next set of tools that people are going to be relying on. Because when they do, lives will be impacted, whether it's being in jail for an hour or 3 months, or, maybe someday it may be for years. We've got to do a better job. And that's why there's got to be guardrails, and you've got to make sure that these impacts that folks often don't think about are addressed, along with the environmental impacts and job loss and a number of other things that folks have raised some concerns around.
Give me 1 second, folks. I lost audio there, so I lost the connection. Do you have me back?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so I lost our connection. This case angers me. It angers me because, and I can't. Y'all might have seen it. Wasn't there a documentary on Netflix? There's a documentary on Netflix that dealt with AI, and they talked about the racial bias in AI, and that's what this is about. This is what we're dealing with right here. It's the racial bias in AI. And look, AI is made, white people are the ones who are largely creating these models. The bias is in there, and I don't understand how in the hell, I literally don't, Zabor, how you can use AI to identify somebody who supposedly commits a crime, and you don't have as a part of your system a backup. I don't understand that. I don't understand the backup. How do you say, oh, that's it, AI said they're guilty, that's it?
It's like, where's the oversight? They're using AI to check AI. But the systems that are programming these algorithmic and facial recognition technologies are systems that already have data that has implicit bias embedded in it. The data is from systems that we know are biased in identifying patterns, bias in how over-policing happens in the Black communities, unequal arrest patterns. You have all of these different data that is influencing this AI. So how can your AI not have biases embedded in it? You know what I mean? We know that there are going to be higher false positives for Black communities. And to say all of the things that that man lost, from custody of his kid to his job to all of these things, and you just automatically assume that this Black individual is guilty when they have evidence and an alibi. Like, this is one more way that our justice system continues to fail Black and brown people. And I just don't understand how you don't think to make sure that you have some level of oversight.
3 months. 3 months, Joy. The man lost his job. The man lost his house, lost custody of his kids. I'm suing everybody. If I'm his attorneys, I'm suing the police department. I'm suing the city. I'm suing the DA. I'm suing the AI company as well. I'm suing the vendor that sold them the software.
Correct. There has to be accountability across the board. This is what people are afraid of. I do tech work in addition to some other things. I can tell you when I was at my son's college graduation this weekend, you know, students were out there and they were booing AI. They're concerned, right? We know this happened at other schools as well. There are a lot of fears around AI. There's a lot of hope around it as well. But our greatest fear is that it would create this kind of result, right? This is part of what the Pope is talking about, that you see something that appears to be true and you act on it. Or, you know, so you see something artificial that appears to be real, but you act on it in actuality and in real life, and it has consequences. And so, you know, 3 months, anything could have happened to that man in 3 months. He's already had long-term consequences, but he could have lost his life. You know, there are all sorts of things that can happen to you. And what cure would we have for that? So absolutely, he needs remedy, but we have to make sure that when we're creating these systems, we have enough people at the table that are thinking about all the ways that it can be used for good, but also for evil, so that we can ward those things off, so that we can get out in front of them, because it has to cost the company a lot of money. If not, they will say, well, it's just an actuarial thing, you know, it's worth whatever benefit to have this cost to him. No, they have to pay so royally, so painfully. It has to be so painful for them that they get out in front of it. Their shareholders are saying, why would you have been so reckless here? There has to be consequences. And let me just correct one thing you said. It's not white people. It's white men in particular who are creating these AI systems and that are at the table right now. And I say that because I do gender work, and I can tell you AI also has some dangers out there for women. And it is because we're getting out in front of what is going to ultimately be, you know, harmful and have some long-term consequences for us. So we need to have everyone at the table creating these systems. That's why I'm glad to see policymakers saying, look, we need to have the whole of society being able to have some say in how these technologies are deployed and where they're deployed and what are the backstops.
Indeed. This is just, I mean, the man never even went to the state. That's just unbelievable that this could happen. But this is the crap that we're actually dealing with. All right, got to go to break. When we come back, man, things got funky on Capitol Hill regarding the Southern Poverty Law Center. And, man, it was some back and forth. And it got heated. And we got the best of it for you. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching the Black Star Network.
Well, folks, there was a hearing on Capitol Hill dealing with the Southern Poverty Law Center's alleged role in distorting civil rights policy in recent years. That's what Republicans claim. And it was a lot of back and forth. First, the interim president and CEO of the SPLC, Brian Fair, he spoke and laid out what he wanted to achieve with testifying before the House today.
Last July, I took on a one-year leave from teaching to become the interim head of the Southern Poverty Law Center. So my testimony today will be one of my last official acts in this role. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to work alongside the talented, dedicated, and principled SPLC staff. For 55 years, with the support of generous donors who appreciate our work, the SPLC has fought racial terror, white supremacy, and other forms of discrimination and hate, seeking to build and defend a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. That was the goal of the Civil Rights Movement, and it is our mission. We are known for exposing and dismantling extremist hate groups. We took on the United Klans of America, whose hateful violence killed 4 little girls in the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, and we sued them out of existence. In the decades since, hate has continued, but so have our efforts to expose it through litigation, policy, research, and education. We fight for the underdog, the poor, the unhoused, the hungry, the incarcerated, the disenfranchised, the immigrant, the outcast, the vilified. Many groups, and some in this room, have misrepresented our work, including our confidential informant program, repeating various false allegations. Some say we've lost our way. That's false. We've never lost our North Star, a fair and just society for every person. All our programs advance that mission. Our work saves lives, but it comes at a price. Since our earliest days, we've been targeted by those who oppose our mission. Our office was firebombed, our staff threatened, our leaders the target of assassination. We know political violence. We unequivocally condemn it. However, despite the danger, we will not stop exposing hate. This morning, we released our annual Year in Hate and Extremism report. It chronicles how the hard right has weaponized the levers of government to weaken the political and economic power of non-whites, immigrants, women, the LGBTQ+ community, religious minorities, and the poor. The forces turning back hard-won progress against discrimination are unrelenting and unashamed. The SPLC, alongside many civil rights groups and democracy defenders, is resisting them. To American people of goodwill, especially those left out of the American promise, your civic participation matters now more than any time since the Civil Rights Movement. Today, I'm joined by several people who inspire our work. First, Ms. Karen Finn and her son Aaron are here. Aaron faced expulsion from school for alleged conduct that was a manifestation of his disability. Aaron lives with autism, and federal law prohibits schools from excluding students for behaviors connected to their disabilities. We sued, and with his mother's courage and dedication and his perseverance, Aaron graduated from that school in 2023. Ms. Tanya Gersh is also here. A Jewish Montana mom, Gersh and her family became the target of relentless anti-Semitic harassment from white nationalists, including threatening phone calls where all that could be heard on the line was gunshots. With the center's help, Gersh won a $14 million judgment against the neo-Nazi who incited her harassers. We stand with Karen, Aaron, Tanya, and thousands we protect every day. Fannie Lou Hamer said, "Nobody's free until everybody's free." The SPLC will continue our constitutionally protected work to ensure everyone in this country is treated with dignity, lives lives free of discrimination, and enjoys liberty and opportunity to thrive. These promises of our democracy are not self-executing. They require our collective vigilance, and we will continue to defend them when they come under attack. Finally, I must note that I'm constrained in answering some questions today because they may touch on matters involving pending criminal litigation against the SPLC or conversations that I've had with counsel. Frankly, this constraint is the result of the majority's injecting itself into a pending criminal matter 3 days after it was filed and then refusing our request to delay this hearing until that case is resolved. With that, I will answer what I can.
There's no shock that the most ignorant congressman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, chose to get into it with CEO Fair.
Mr. Fair, did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources attend extremist rallies across the country?
Mr. Chairman.
It's a simple question. Did you use your donor money for that purpose?
We used donor money
so yes or no?
to pay confidential informants to infiltrate extremist organizations.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources host extremist rallies throughout the country?
Not to my knowledge.
That's not what the indictment says. Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources grow existing chapters of extremist groups?
Mr. Chairman, as I said earlier—
It's a simple question, Mr. Fair. Did you use donor money for the purpose I just read? I'm reading straight from the superseding indictment.
And Mr. Chairman, the indictment will be managed and responded to by counsel in the criminal case that's
Well, you
pending.
just answered a question from Mr. Raskin concerning the indictment. He asked you, did field sources send information to the FBI that help with things? You answered that question.
That's a matter of public knowledge.
That's in our public filing.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources create new chapters of extremist groups?
Again, Mr. Chairman.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to recruit new individuals into those extremist groups?
I assume you don't want me to answer since you're not giving me time to answer.
No, I'm giving you time to answer because that's a yes or did you use your donors' money for that purpose? Yes or no?
Again, those issues will be resolved in the pending allegations against the SPLC.
It seems to me if the answer is no, you could say no.
We have asserted that the allegations are false.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources make donations to extremist group leaders and purchase materials for cross burnings? It's alleged in the indictment. Did it happen?
We've alleged that those allegations are false.
Did Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources create racist paraphernalia that extremist groups sold at rallies?
We've alleged that those allegations are false.
Okay, how about this? What is Fox photography?
Mr. Chairman, what I've learned about Fox photography, I've learned from counsel in conversations with counsel.
How about Northwest Technologies?
And they're covered by the attorney-client privilege.
No, these are, well, did the Southern Poverty Law Center establish shell companies to pay, to run the money through, to then pay the field sources?
Again, all of the allegations that you are referring to, Chairman Jordan, will be
well, how about this?
Responded to by our counsel in the Middle District of Alabama.
Did you pay the field sources directly or did you pay them through an intermediary?
Mr. Chairman Jordan?
Yep.
Our counsel will respond to all the allegations in the indictment in the case pending in the Middle District.
Well, there's all these companies that you sent money to. Center Investigative Agency, not the CIA, but your CIA. Fox Photography, Northwest Technologies, Tech Writers Group, Rare Books Warehouses, Imagery Link, J&J Electronics, and Kelly's Marine. And I'm just want to know if that was the intermediate shell companies that you guys set up to pay the field sources. Is that true?
Will the good chairman yield for just a moment?
I got just a minute and a half, and then I'll be happy to entertain a question you may
Chairman
have.
Jordan, our counsel will respond to all the allegations in the Middle District of Alabama.
Okay.
As the process allows.
Did you do it all for the money? I mean, you said now, I think the Southern Poverty Law Center said you're no longer going to use these field sources. You're going to stop the program. But you did it for multiple years. And according to the indictment, it was $4 million that you shelled out to these various field sources to engage in all the activities I just read.
Was
it all about the money?
As we said in our public statement, Chairman Jordan, we did it to protect our staff and to protect the public.
Did fundraising increase after paying people to stay in these groups who actually wanted out of them? Did your fundraising increase? Did the donations coming in increase?
Chairman Jordan, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to when you say—
How about this? After the crazy Charlottesville rally, did fundraising go up?
Mr. Chairman, our fundraising went up.
Fundraising where one of your field sources helped coordinate transportation.
Our fundraising went up when President Donald Trump was elected in 2016.
Fundraising go up after you paid a field source to coordinate the transportation at an event in Charlottesville where a person was killed. That's what I'm asking. Did it go up? Because according to what we know, you went from 51 million to 133 million in 1 year.
And that happened when President Donald Trump was elected.
Who's the president of the National Socialist Party? You know? You paid him $70,000. He was field source number 30. I just want to know who he is. Do you know who he is?
Mr. Chairman, that's an allegation in the indictment that will be responded to by counsel in the Middle District of Alabama.
My time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
All right, folks. Well, thank goodness Colorado Congressman Joe Negase was there as well. This is what he had to say.
Thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today and for your testimony. Reviewed all of your written testimony and appreciate the opportunity to ask you a couple of questions about it. Mr. Banger, you work for Alliance Defending Freedom, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I reviewed your written testimony. safe to say you disagree with the Southern Poverty Law Center's designation of your group, right?
We do.
Okay. And based on your written testimony and based off some of what I found on your website, some deep resentment about that designation, fair to say.
Sir, we don't resent them, we disagree with them.
Disagree with them, okay. Well, as I look at your testimony and as I review your website, it is pretty clear that you view Southern Poverty Law Center as an adversary, or is that a fair characterization?
We have disagreements with them on a number of issues, including policy and otherwise.
That's how you would describe them? Disagreements? I mean, the words that you use to describe the Southern Poverty Law Center do not strike me as a simple matter of disagreement. It seems pretty clear to me, based on your website, based on your testimony, I don't know why you'd be walking away from that now, that you vehemently disagree with the Southern Poverty Law Center, that you are pleased that they have been indicted. You have called, this is from your recommendations for congressional action, direct banking regulators to investigate ECOA and Regulation B compliance at institutions using SPLC-linked vetting tools, right? So you are calling for investigations into the Southern Poverty Law Center. That doesn't sound like something that you would do with someone you disagree with. Am I wrong?
Well, Congressman, anytime that a designation by a nonprofit that's politically unaccountable is being used by federally regulated banks to discriminate based on religious belief, that's something that the government should be aware of and should look into.
So I'm simply saying that I didn't expect to have this much of an extended back and forth on the premise of the question. I think that your bosses at Alliance Defending Freedom, if they were testifying here, would say, we vehemently disagree with Southern Poverty Law Center. They're an adversary. They are an enemy. We are glad that they have been indicted, and we are calling for more investigations of them, which you did in the written testimony that you provided to this committee. Do you think it would be inappropriate to harness a criminal prosecution of an entity to pursue the enemies of your organization? Would that be an inappropriate thing to do?
Well, Congressman.
No, that's a yes or no question. You can ask, if you don't think it's inappropriate, you can say no.
If there's true criminal activity, then of course the government has the right to investigate.
Sure, but if there's no criminal activity, it would be wrong to do that, right?
Well, it depends upon what the facts ultimately show.
Mr. Banger, this is why I asked the question. You are a former Attorney General. I think you know why I'm asking you the question. You're a former Deputy Attorney General within the Texas Office of Attorney General. You went to the FBI and gave a whistleblower complaint about Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas. You did so because you believed that there was criminal wrongdoing. Let me read this quote. In my view, the criminal process had been harnessed to pursue the business enemies of an individual who also happened to be under intensive investigation by law enforcement. That's your quote from an article a few years ago after you went to the FBI about Mr. Paxton. It is very clear that Alliance Defending Freedom and a wide variety of other organizations that have been designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center resent it, vehemently disagree with it, have been demanding a criminal investigation and indictment of SPLC, and they have now gotten their wishes from the president's personal lawyer, who, of course, as we know, now serves as the interim Attorney General of the United States. And I just think it's important for us to be candid about that. I don't know if the chairman agrees with you going to the FBI about Ken Paxton. I'm not sure if Mr. Gill or Mr. Roy or some of my colleagues here, maybe they'll ask you a question or two about the Republican Attorney General of Texas and why it was appropriate for you to go to the FBI with allegations of wrongdoing. I'm certainly glad that you did that. I would tell you that, like you, the SPLC, as I understand it, has gone to the FBI on many occasions to provide the FBI with information about suspected criminal activity. And in fact, that criminal activity, the reported criminal activity, has ultimately been prosecuted. By the way, not by President Biden's Justice Department, but by Donald Trump's Justice Department. And the best example of this, which was brought up earlier, was the potential mass terror attack at a synagogue in Las Vegas. And Mr. Fair, I think you've already attested to this, but just to be clear, your organization gave information from a paid informant to the FBI when Donald Trump was president. And Donald Trump's FBI used that information to prosecute someone to prevent them from engaging in this mass terror attack. Is that true?
That is correct.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Fair. Thank you, Mr. Bankert.
Time to
yield back.
Wow, that was good. Now, you know Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had to bring the funk. Check this out.
I hate that we have spent this much time, on SPLC, and we've not addressed the elephant in the room, the literal elephant in the room. The vast majority of the people on that side of the aisle, and for those of you that are at home, let me tell you, when I say that side of the aisle, I'm talking about the Republicans, the ones that brought this hearing. And again, you've heard that this is not the first hearing, but the vast majority of them are white men. White men are lecturing people of color because the vast majority, actually, any semblance of diversity comes from this side of the aisle. You want to tell people of color who is fighting for who? People of color do not feel comfortable or welcomed within your party. That's why you have to parade someone who has the name Dr. King attached to them so that people can be confused, because I have been reading the comments online and people are like, who is this Dr. King? Because you want them to believe that somehow she espouses who Dr. King was, yet you've yet to have MLK the third come in here. You've yet to have Dr. Bernice King, the ones that were actually raised by Dr. King, the ones that actually probably understand the teachings of Dr. King. And I just want to be clear, because I want to talk to y'all about what the Dr. King had to say about racism, so that y'all don't get it twisted and don't get it confused just because you see the name sitting in this room. Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American, the Indian, was an inferior race. That was from his 1963 book, Why We Can't Wait. He also said, in the final analysis, racism is evil because its ultimate logic is genocide. If one says that I am not good enough to live next door to him, or to have a good, decent job, or to go to school with him merely because of my race, he is saying consciously or unconsciously that I do not deserve to exist. This was from his 1967 speech, The Other America. So just to be clear, y'all don't seem like y'all even understand what a hate organization is. So I went to Google to help you out. A hate group is an organized group whose beliefs, practices, and primary purpose are centered on advocating malice, hostility, or violence towards people based on their immutable race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. So I know some of y'all are, caping for Charlie Kirk, because I done heard y'all talk about his organization over and over and over. So I'm not finna play with anybody who's gonna play with my time. So I'm going directly to Miss McCord. Professor, let me put some respect on your name. All right, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Does that sound like a hater or not?
That sounds like a racial stereotype.
Okay, sounds good to me. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the mid-1960s.
That sounds like someone who still adheres to racist views.
Okay. America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America.
That is someone who can't accept that America is a multiracial, multi-religious place.
Okay, these all just happen to be comments from the fearless leader of Turning Point USA, so I could see where SPLC was going. I also think that it's so interesting that right now, just for those sitting at home, you may not know that Oversight is not having any hearings right now because the Republicans don't want to deal with the Epstein file, so they have shut down all of Oversight committee hearings, right? So we've got an indictment for SPLC. I have still yet to see an indictment on any Epstein defendant. Not a one, but okay. And we want to talk about what happened in Charlottesville, and we are so upset about Charlottesville. All of a sudden, I would be interested to know which one of you had something to say about Charlottesville when it happened, because I don't think that y'all were saying those same things. In fact, our fearless leader at the time said that there were pretty fine people on both sides. You were okay with the tiki torches. You were okay with it. But I digress. I'm going to move on to Texas in my last 24 seconds. In your testimony before the Texas House of Representatives, you read aloud a series of messages between you and other whistleblowers, basically explaining the corruption happening, directed by Attorney General Ken Paxton. On page 82, lines 5 through 11, you list all the corruption that Ken Paxton directed you and others to carry out, to quote, demanding that we investigate facially bogus charges, refusing to take our advice that there is no prosecutable offense, demanding that we hire outside counsel, and authorizing an improper fishing expedition. Is that correct?
The time the gentleman has expired. The gentleman can respond if he wants. My testimony from that proceeding stands for itself.
Now, you heard Congressman Crockett that referred to Dr. King's children. One of the folks who testified was Dr. Alveda King, the daughter of the late civil rights activist, Reverend A.D. King. He was the brother of Dr. King, and she, of course, Dr. King's niece. She got into a heated debate with Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Ms. McCord, our colleagues invoked the fact that the SPLC had an informant in a white nationalist group at the infamous Unite the Right rally in August of 2017 in Charlottesville as some kind of indictment of the SPLC. But didn't that SPLC informant create the information that allowed the SPLC to send 3 different FBI field offices a 45-page memorandum warning of planned violence and the potential for violence at this extremist confab?
That is the facts that have been represented in court.
Mr. Fair, is it true that the SPLC sent a memo based on that informant's work to 3 different FBI field offices?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The chairman spoke with some indignation about the fact that there were $3 million or $4 million spent giving to undercover informants to try to expose the work of the extremist groups, as in Charlottesville in 2017, where Heather Heyer was killed by a fanatic racist. I'm just curious how the members of the panel feel about this proposed $1.776 billion political slush fund set up for the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and other convicted criminals and rioters from January 6th. Do you think that that fund should be shut down and any other similar fund, Mr. Fair?
Yeah,
yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Dr. King, do you agree that that should be shut down?
I will not speak on whether that particular fund should be shut down.
Or any such fund.
I think some of these slush funds that SPLC is using.
Okay, but my question is about the one proposed by Todd Blanche. It's a yes or no?
I will not answer on it.
Okay.
I think
Mr.
they
Banger,
need to stop killing the babies and cutting the penises off. And so any slush fund is
I have limited time. We can
money in that is the problem.
Mr. Banger, do you believe that the $1.776 billion political slush fund should be shut down and any similar fund?
I think that's a question for Congress to answer.
Okay, and Professor McCord, what do you think? Should that political slush fund be shut down?
Yes, it should.
And any similar slush fund?
Yes, it should.
Okay. So the conceit of the prosecution, this whole hearing, the whole attack on the SPLC is that there's some contradiction between fighting against extremist hate and racism for decades and then sending people undercover as informants to find out what these groups are doing. Do you agree that there's a contradiction, Professor McCord?
I agree that it is a very useful law enforcement tool to use informants and cooperators to learn more, not just about hate groups and potential domestic violent extremism, but also as a tool to dismantle drug trafficking groups and human trafficking groups.
So if the FBI sent someone undercover to expose a mafia organization, narco traffickers, international human traffickers, that wouldn't mean that the FBI is supporting those groups, would it?
That's correct.
Okay. As a matter of law, and as a matter of fact, can you have a criminal fraud if there are no victims of the fraud?
To have a criminal fraud, you have to have made statements and fraudulently to induce some activity. And if it did not induce some sort of activity, like a gift or donation, then there is no fraud.
Well, what I don't understand is that suddenly, out of the blue, there's a claim that the Southern Poverty Law Center is engaged in fraud because it's been extremely effective. I wish it had been even more effective, for example, in stopping the Oklahoma City bombing, where nearly 200 people were killed in an act of fanatical white nationalism. but it's been quite effective. I don't know of any group that's been more effective, other than potentially the FBI itself, in stopping extremist white violence. Well, do you believe that it is an act of fraud when the donors to the group understand perfectly well that people are being sent undercover to try to get information on what these groups are doing?
If donors were not defrauded, and no donors have come forward, to my knowledge, suggesting that they were unaware of what the SPLC was doing, that program has been known for a long time, and so that creates a problem.
I mean, it just seems to me amazing to be alleging a fraud when there are no victims. When I just looked up the Trump University case, there were hundreds and hundreds of people coming forward screaming to high heaven about how they'd been ripped off and exploited by this fake university, and they won $25 million.
So do you pay the same people to do the bomb and then go and comfort the people from being bombed? You pay the same people to do both jobs? That's kind of fraud to me. That's weird and chaotic and confusing.
Well, Dr. King, I don't think there's any allegation that anybody who was working for the Southern Poverty Law Center bombed anyone. Do you have information to that effect? Because
I don't personally, but outside agitators did bomb our house in '63 and then ran back and took off the Ku Klux Klan sheets and put on police things and ran up in the yard.
Well,
and
that's
it was the same people. It was crazy.
I'm with you, and that's a statement about the racism of that police force working with the Ku Klux Klan.
Hey, y'all pay both of them to do the double jobs. SPLC does. Really, you hire them to do the bombing, then you hire them to fix the bombing. That's weird.
Dr. King, you're asserting a lot of things under oath, and you haven't brought the evidence with you. So I think
I'll get some for you.
Okay, please, bring us the evidence, and I'll yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll get some for you.
Mustafa, I'll get some for you. What the? This all goes to show you how nuts the Trump DOJ is. The Southern Poverty Law Center has infiltrated. They've been able to get sources to reveal what's happening in these hate crime groups, and these folks are mad. Maybe that's because white domestic terrorists are Republican voters.
You know, SPLC has been doing amazing work for decades upon decades. If they didn't exist, we know that hate crimes are still at an all-time high, but if it wasn't for them, the numbers probably would be even higher. We also know that domestic terrorism is still a significant threat. That's not Mustafa saying it. That is law enforcement that continues to say it. And if you didn't have an organization like SPLC, you know, then we know that we could have even greater sets of impacts that are going on out there. The last thing is, you know, folks know who they're bringing to testify. I mean, I worked for John Conyers when he was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. So there's no accident when you have somebody who is under oath spouting things without proof. You have to be very careful about that because that can always come back to bite you. So I always want to honor my elders, but at the same time, an elder or anybody else has no business, you know, sharing false information. So if you're about misinformation, disinformation, I'm gonna hold you to the same level of accountability as I would someone else.
It's insane to me, Zabor, that, well, actually it should be insane, because if you defended January 6th domestic terrorists, it's no shock that you would be angry at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
If you have proof, present it. And stop performing politics. Stop acting as if white supremacists isn't violent, it's something we're imagining, or the threat of domestic extremism is something that's imagined. These things are happening. And if you're going to use your power to dismantle our organizations that track these hate groups and bring these hate groups down, then that burden of proof should be extremely high. You shouldn't just be able to throw blank accusations with no proof at a wall. This is ridiculous, and we see it happening every day. They are doing their best to dismantle all of the civil rights organizations that are fighting for the rights of us. And it's just not right. And we need oversight. The oversight committee is not coming to play. We have so much going on, and to bring these accusations with no proof is just really insane.
Joy.
It's the fact that they're being attacked right now. And so, frankly, go SPLC. We know that they have been infiltrating groups in order to bring a light and to dismantle white supremacy groups. That is why they are being attacked. They are being attacked because this Republican Party has decided to cast its lot with bigots. They are against the future of a multiracial society, and they feel that they can entice white voters to support them with this white supremacist message. So the question is, if you are a Republican voter out there and you're still supporting this party, you're supporting white supremacy. Southern Poverty Law Center, they'll be all right in the end, but the attack here is because they are effective, not because they have done anything illegal. I have absolutely no doubt that they will be proven to be correct in this case, and whatever things need to be cured will be done. That will happen. But really, what this is about is attacking those who are a threat to white supremacy.
Yep, that is exactly the case. All right, folks, let's go to South Carolina, where Republicans there are seeking to, frankly, defund South Carolina State after they rescinded the invitation for the MAGA Lieutenant Governor, Pamela Yvette, to speak at commencement. Now, Republican lawmakers there again are discussing pulling back funding from the state's only publicly funded HBCU. South Carolina State University representatives, SCSU alumni, and former SCSU board member Hamilton Grant joins us. Here's what's crazy here. Okay, so this is a state school. You're mad that the state, that the institution took the position, and that was because students were protesting, others were protesting, and so therefore, university administration pulled this. So basically, what they're saying is, screw taxpayers, screw all the black people in South Carolina who pay taxes to the state. We're going to act like some petulant children and now deprive South Carolina State of needed resources because our feelings are hurt.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me, Roland. I think Republicans forget that South Carolina State University is a state school, which means the buildings that are campus are owned by the state of South Carolina. So in their attempt to try to withhold funding as some kind of action of retaliation, they are in sense holding money from themselves, right? And so I think they fail to remember that hurting South Carolina State University from holding back funds is actually going to hurt them as well. And when you look at the names of those individuals that are on that letter, these are all people that are auditioning to be the potential running mate of the lieutenant governor. We'll see how tonight's primary election results go, but all of them want to be in a position of power because they see Lieutenant Governor Yvette as a front runner. So listen, when this came up last time and those same people made those calls and we came back to discuss a portion of the budget, there were 0 amendments added to the desk. So they weren't even serious about this. This is political theater, and we got to stop playing games with our universities when it comes to funding.
Okay, the reality is they could actually do this. And so how are you and others fighting back to make sure that South Carolina State doesn't get penalized?
We're doing everything we can to fight back, Roland. And the reality is, you're right. They could try to pull our bluff on this, which is why we need to make sure that after tonight's primary results, we keep the momentum going into November. The only way that we can stop this from happening is make sure that Democrats flip seats in these contested races across the state of South Carolina. I'm the co-chair of the HBCU caucus. I've advocated for more money for our private HBCUs through HEAP funds. I've advocated for more funding for South Carolina State University because, after all, with the Biden administration sending letters to our governor, we are owed over $500 million due to 1890 money that has not been matched by the state of South Carolina. Much how Tennessee State sent a letter to their governor saying they were owed over $2 billion. So we're having this whole conversation again about removing funds from the budget of South Carolina Carolina State, but I believe that there are good people who are in the House of Representatives, who are in the Senate, that recognize the potential of South Carolina State University. And just as we said no to Donald Trump on redistricting, they'll say no to this terrible idea of defunding South Carolina State University.
What do you want the public to do?
I want the public to understand that what this is doing is hurting not only to students, but is hurting the economic impact of the state of South Carolina. When you look at the greatness of South Carolina State University and what we produce in terms of our JROTC, the Bulldog Battalion, and how many officers that we put into the military, second behind West Point. When you look at our athletics and we lead the state in 4 NFL Hall of Famers. When you look at our accredited engineering program, when you look at all the people like Congressman Clyburn, who are graduates of South Carolina State University, taking away from the school's funding will hurt the state. What we are to the United States of America in various capacities helps build the profile of South Carolina. And taking money away does not help these students. And so what I want the public to understand is apply pressure. We see what pressure can do in redistricting. We put out an all hands on deck call to make sure that everybody voted on the first day of early voting. And over 56,000 South Carolinians, which ultimately made it hard for Republicans to move forward. When we see that kind of engagement happening with our people, particularly with African Americans, we understand that things can be stopped. And so while we have this fueled re-engagement and sense of energy in the state of South Carolina, let's look past redistricting and let's also look at all of the other things that are happening in this state, from funding to our HBCUs, to healthcare, to everything in between. So let's keep applying the pressure and letting them know we're not having that in South Carolina.
All right, then. Hamilton Grant, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Folks, going to a break. We come back. Shop BlackStarNetwork.com. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Planning an organization don't have to feel like a chore thanks to Copper and Brass Paper Goods. This is more than just a stationery company. From journals to financial organization systems, each product is thoughtfully designed to bring intention, beauty, and purpose to everyday life. Founders Ariel Young joins us right now. Ariel, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Martin. Roland, how are you?
I'm doing great. So, all right. So, were you one of those frankly Covey'ites? How did you come here and what you're doing, especially when we're living in the digital world? I mean, it's fewer and fewer people who write and who use stationery. So, so what happened here?
I'm a tangible girl. I like stationary products. I like something I can put my hands on. From an early age, my mom exposed me to lots of stationery, specifically Lisa Frank. So I always say I'm the Black Lisa Frank. I come with personality, creativity, and lots of color, products that affirm Black women and offer moments of Black woman joy.
All right, and so what was first? So what was the first thing you said, that I really want to do first, and then how did it go? How did it build from there?
Well, actually, I started with wrapping paper and gift bags, so gifting items. My mom and I are big on presentation, and so we've always wrapped gifts. And so we noticed there was no Black Santa wrapping paper, so that's where I started from. And then during COVID, I pivoted to add in the stationery items. So I started with notebooks at that point. And now we've expanded, and I've had over 200 products and also 200 different designs.
Wow. And so how has it grown?
Business, actually, I've been in business over 8 years now, which is really a testament to the power of the Black dollar. Black women are my primary audience, and we know in 2025 and 2026, the economy has not been favorable to Black women, but yet Black women still manage to support me. So I've seen business before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. So we actually, like I said, we pivoted during COVID. Business grew by, I would say, 500% during COVID. But since this last administration took over, business has declined, but again, that's due to what's going on with Black women. So I recognize that, but still we've been able to manage, and business is going fairly well.
All right, then. Questions from my panelists. Zipporah, you first.
I love Lisa Frank too, so I gotta be the Black girl that supports you. My question to you is, do you have any other pivots you're thinking about going into when it comes to stationery, like planners or anything like that?
I've been thinking of a planner for a while. Planners come with a lot of cost, so I have to decide between like a monthly spread, a weekly spread, or a daily spread. So there are a lot of different options. I'm not to the point yet where I can offer multiple options. So basically doing a little bit more of market research and determining what my audience wants. But yes, that is definitely in the lineup for products to come.
Joy.
I love the products that you have. I look forward to discovering them more. It's what I love about this segment. I discover brands I haven't, discovered before. Who's picking you up? And apologies if you said it. I'm having a little difficulty. I might have missed it. Beyond the Black Star Network, what other vendors, where else, are you being placed right now?
I'm primarily online through my website, copperandbrass.net, and also I'm on Shop Red Bag and also Black Star Network at this point. I have been in some major retailers in the past, but not right now. I've been featured on several different morning shows and also had product placement on several different sitcoms as well.
Well, I'm just going to follow up to say, I hope that you're hitting all the sororities and the links and all those vendors and conferences throughout this year and in future years, because I know they'll be eating up your products.
I previously held licenses for well over 50 HBCUs. I'm a Spelman woman. So my first notebook was a Spelman notebook, and I've covered, like I said, well over 50 HBCUs, and that was huge for my company.
Yeah.
Mustafa.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I love the vibrancy of your images that you have. Can you talk a little bit about how you make the choices of what you're going to bring forward?
Yes. So I'm not an artist, so I do have a team of artists, but I come up with all the color schemes, the ideas, and everything. And I just look at our village, I look at our community, and I see what we want or what we need. I pride myself on predicting what people need before they even know they need it. So I'm trying to fill in the gaps in that manner. So of course I have notebooks or products for teachers, for women in healthcare, and also just products that bring positivity. I feel like we have a lot of representation, but not necessarily positive representation. And I always want to put out something that's affirming and positive and uplifting to our community, because there's not enough of that available.
All right, folks, so go to shop. I want you to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. If you go to the website, you'll see all of the various products right there that's on the website. So check out copper and brass paper goods by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com and stock up on stationery and all the other items that Ariel has there. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, we often talk about the importance of voting on this show, and we try to connect the dots and make it plain and get people to understand how these things work. Well, what happens when a preacher incorporates that concept into his sermon and just makes that whole thing plain? Well, that's what Alfred Street Baptist Church Senior Pastor Howard John Wesley did, and check this out.
You want to know who really betrays you? People who see what's happening is wrong, and they're too scared to say it's wrong. You know who sells you out? People who know that shouldn't be happening to you, but say, since it ain't happening to me, I'm just gonna mind my business. You know who sells you out? Folk who were elected to keep a balance of power, but they are so afraid of presidential retaliation that they just go along to get along and will not call out evil and immoral and unconstitutional. They are quiet when they ought to be using their voice. We've been sold out by folk who will not use their voice. Now, before you get it twisted and think I'm just talking about some cowardly Congress or some scared Senate or some jittery justices, I'm not just talking about them, I'm talking about us. Because some of us have betrayed us by not using our voice in order to help us. If you don't vote, you have sold us out. If you sit at home talking about you don't like either candidate and the Democrats and the Republicans ain't doing nothing for you and you stay at home, you have betrayed us. If the only time you voted was to make marijuana legal, you sold us out. And I came under assignment today to raise up some Christians with some godly courage, who are not afraid to open your mouth and declare that this is not of God, this is not holy, this is not just, this is not right. I need some folk that ain't scared to let the Lord position you and then use you to open your mouth. Can I push it? Since I made you angry, let me make you mad. There are 8 more standing around who say nothing. And because they don't say anything, the only voices we hear are Reuben and Judah. Y'all stare at me. They say nothing. So Reuben and Judah are the only voices they hear. One more time, Brother Nickens. They say nothing. So Reuben and Judah get to represent them. Because when you don't say anything, they get to pick who represents you. Come here. And everybody can't speak for us. Listen, if you ain't got no melanin in your skin, close your ear real quick. Suntan folk, let me tell you something. All your skin folk ain't your kin folk. And everybody who's your color ain't your kind. And everybody who look like you ain't with you. And some people can't speak for us, and that is part of the problem of where we sit today, because we have been misrepresented by celebrities and entertainers who've been manipulated by money to stand on a counterproductive agenda and have become pimped false representatives of who we are. I'm gonna say it again, and before I take some from it, I'm gonna add to it. We have been misrepresented by celebrities and entertainers who've been manipulated by money to betray their own people. Since I quoted Dr. King, let me quote Brother Malcolm. Brother Malcolm said this: only in the black community do we allow our entertainers to be presented as our political leaders when they are uninformed and ignorant. Let me say that again. Only in the black community do we allow entertainers to be presented as political leaders. So I came by to declare, I don't care what celebrity status you have, if your opinion is uninformed, you don't speak for me. I don't care if your album went platinum, if you got a Heisman Trophy, if you signed a contract to be a football commentator. If you make people laugh, it doesn't mean you make sense. And just because you were cute in the 90s with your little R&B group, does not mean you get to speak for me. I came by to declare to you today, and y'all can disagree if you want, I'm just of the mindset that if you ain't got no receipts, you should sit down and be quiet. If you ain't done nothing for black folk, if you've never helped us, if you never supported our colleges, if you never poured into a young person, if you've never mentored, you don't have receipts, and you should shut up.
Well, go ahead, Kappa Howard John Wesley. Mustafa, he said a whole lot there.
Yes, he did.
He did. He dropped truth on folks, and that's what we need more of. Folks who are, in our religious institutions, but everyday folks also. You have a voice. You got to use your voice. And since I first came onto the network, I have said you have power unless you give it away, and we need to stop giving our power away.
Absolutely. Joy?
Roland, one of the things I love about your show is you speak truth to power. It is the individual out there who didn't vote. It is the celebrity who is being paid to disenfranchise and lead people astray. It's our civil rights leaders sometimes who don't do all the things that they need to do and are, sometimes more interested in being invited to the table than they are turning it over. It's all of that. And if there's any benefit from this season where we've been presented with Donald Trump, it's that we have to see, where we need work in all spaces. It's not just white people that are our problem. It's not just white men that are our problem. It's sometimes us. And it's our comfort level that's our problem. And the fact that we left a lot of people behind and we're too afraid to speak out on their behalf and tell the truth because we wanted to protect our own comfort. And that even includes me. So right now we have a second chance. The Lord has given us a second chance. And we have to use it. We have to use our voice.
You better be in this, or you better be in this game, or trust me, it'll be played unusable.
I find myself remembering every old saying my grandfather said, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And we have to understand that it's our responsibility. It starts with us. We're watching our voting rights, disability rights, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. We're watching all of these things be took away slow but surely, and we are too quiet, too comfortable. We are forgetting the people of the past, and we are thinking we got to start everything from scratch, when in reality we just need to build on the building blocks that were already laid for us, and on those foundations we have to remember the people of the past. When James Baldwin warned us that everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. We have to know those things. We have to know what these people that were giants before us, whether it was a biblical giant or whether it was a Black civil rights leader that was really leading us. We got to tap into those and just know that it's our time. If you wondered what you would be doing during the civil rights movement, you're doing exactly what you would be doing. You would have been the person that would have got on the bus instead of the person that would have stayed in solidarity with the rest of us.
Well, we know that is absolutely the case. It's a whole bunch of people who got a whole lot to say. And as Howard John Wesley just said there, they ain't got no receipts to show any of us. All right, Mustafa, Zabora, and Joe, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, we're going to close the show out. Black Star Network headlines.
A federal judge has blocked Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee. The H-1B program allows U.S. employers to hire skilled foreign workers for the hard-to-fill positions. The Trump administration created the fee to stop immigrants from receiving those positions despite their qualifications. On Monday, the fee was struck down in federal court because it violates the Administrative Procedure Act, which governs how agencies issue regulations. The White House says it's confident this order will be reversed on appeal. Yesterday, the World Cup's first Somali referee was detained and interviewed for 11 hours by Customs and Border Protection. CBP says 34-year-old Omar Artan was detained at Miami International Airport due to what the agency said was vetting concerns. Well, the incident comes as the World Cup fast approaches and amid President Trump's travel bans affecting countries such as Somalia and parts of the Middle East. And a swimsuit brand is apologizing and taking action after an email sent to a Black influencer manager sparks outrage online. Last week, Neasia Boykin, founder of an influencer management agency called the Brownstone Collective, posted an email she'd gotten from the influencer relations team at Cupshe, a swimsuit brand. It says, "Hi, Neasia. We do not collab with Black people this campaign." The next day, Boykin posted an additional update to Threads saying Cupshe apologized anonymously from a shared email saying the message you received is not reflective of Cupshe, our values, or the way we partner with our creators. We cherish our relationship with our creators, and we sincerely apologize for the experience and any harm or frustration it may have caused. As a result, the employee responsible is no longer with the company. Boykin says this is the kind of racial discrimination that happens far more often in influencer marketing than anyone wants to admit. In Kansas City, Missouri, brothers Perez and Jahiki Reese have been spending their summer selling lemonade in their neighborhood, but this week, someone called 911 on the boys' lemonade stand. Instead of shutting down the young entrepreneurs, Kansas City police officer Morgan Reed stepped in to help. Officer Reed shared the boys' story with fellow officers who quickly showed up to support the business. And in less than 30 minutes, the brothers raised nearly $300 thanks to customers from the police department. The officers were so inspired by the boys' determination that many have become repeat customers. Perez and Jahiki plan to keep serving lemonade for the rest of the summer. Well, a Black woman in Atlanta is recovering after being shot in the face when she met up with someone she'd met through Facebook Marketplace in order to sell a luxury watch. Zariana Rose says the man pulled a gun on her, demanding her Audemars Piguet watch shortly after meeting. Rose says she then asked the buyer, who was wearing a mask, to come up to her car window. The masked suspect then pulled a gun and threatened to kill her for the $1,200 watch and fired it when she reached for her own weapon. She then drove away, crashing into 3 parked cars before finding help at a nearby gas station. She's speaking out about the moment that this arrangement turned dangerous. Roe underwent surgery last Thursday and is in good spirits, but hopes her experience serves as a warning to others meeting strangers through online Mart.
All right, folks, be sure to check out The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day at noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Again, The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day at noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. This just in, the jury in the case of Karmelo Anthony, they are back with a sentence. Give me 1 second. We're waiting to find out exactly what that is. And again, the reaction has been extremely swift. 1 second. Let's see here. Again, we're waiting to see exactly what the sentencing is going to be for Karmelo Anthony. We also are looking at a lot more information. We're trying to find out what time they're going to announce the sentencing. I'm looking right now to see. So we do know that they have come up with a sentence. We're just trying to find out exactly what time they are going to announce the sentencing of Karmelo Anthony. Let's go to a commercial break, and then we'll come right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Again, folks, the jury in DeKalb County, Texas, has come back with their sentence for Karmelo Anthony. We have not heard from the court what time that is going to be announced. But as we said earlier today, in less than 3 hours, the same jury found Karmelo Anthony guilty of the murder of Austin Metcalf. Now that jury has determined his sentence, and I dare say that sentence, similar timeline with the verdict. And so it's very surprising that, in a capital murder case, that you would literally have a jury decide the verdict as well as the sentencing all in one day, really in less than 8 hours. So we'll know what that is, and so we'll have full coverage, obviously, tomorrow on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day to support this show, as well as the other 5 shows on the Black Star Network. If you want to contribute, please do so by giving to, if you want to use Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com to access that. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037, that's 0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Let me shout out Dwight Lamar, Vanessa Clark, also, let's see here, Henry Poli, as well as Charles McLaughlin for their contributions to the show. Let me also shout out Sarah Wamers, Deborah Joshua, Anthony Skinner. Let me also shout out Sean McCullers. And let's see here. Give me one second. Bruce Perkins, Chris Dotson as well. So let me shout out all of them. Kim Gain as well. All of them for supporting Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Support the Black-owned products that you see on our marketplace segment. When you buy products from them, you're also supporting the show as well. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Download the app Fan Base. Follow me at Roland S. Martin, please. And we certainly appreciate that as well. Folks, that's it. I will be live tomorrow from Nashville, Tennessee, right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!